The situation is really tumultuous for the whole globe. We don't know what's going to happen, of course, and there's a lot of fear in the marketplace, but there's a lot of fear on ground zero, of course, in Ukraine. So I thought it'd be a nice time to talk with the executive director of Mulberry International. Her name is Natasha Reimer. Hey, Natasha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I know your organization does, I guess, missionary-like work, humanitarian assistance in Ukraine. Tell me about the work.
Yes. Mulberry International has been helping in ministering to hundreds of displaced and at-risk families and children in eastern Ukraine, where the war with Russia is happening. And it's been happening for the last 8 years. It hasn't been in the news much. Maybe in the very beginning in 2014, there was some coverage on it, and nobody is reporting on the actual humanitarian crisis that's been going on in that part of the world for the last 8 years. It's actually the coldest humanitarian conflict in Europe, and close to 2 million people have been displaced as a result of it.
Right. I do remember news stories about it when it first popped up on everybody's radar back in 2014. And you're right, it just sort of slipped away. But, yeah, everybody's watching Russia right now and then wondering if something's going to happen. But as you say, things have been happening for these years, these 8 years. And so it means a lot of displaced people and the loss of 10,000 lives, I understand.
Yes. Well, according to the latest UN statistics, more than 13,000 civilians have been killed, and more than 3.5 million are in need of urgent humanitarian assistance as we speak. Not too many organizations are helping on the ground because it's dangerous and, it's really unsafe. But Mulberry International has been on the ground since 2015 helping all these displaced and at-risk families and children. They are called displaced because they practically within the same country. If they were crossing the border of the country, they would have been called refugees. But it's the same idea when people have to flee their homes, leaving behind everything they have, sometimes with just the clothes on their back, and resettle somewhere where they don't have any resources or people that they know. And these are the people that Mulberry has been helping for all these years. And I have personally been there and went to this dilapidated, unweatherized houses with no running water, no basic necessities, where all these people live with small children, with no governmental assistance, and relying on organizations like Mulberry to just sustain their lives.
How are you doing it? How's the network set up?
Well, I work through local volunteers and local churches, and they are hands and feet. They go and help all these hundreds of families in the area. As a matter of fact, last year we gave out over 500 food packets, and we helped hundreds of families on a monthly basis with just basics, firewood, life-saving medicine, food, diapers, baby formula, anything they need, clothing, because people just really don't have anything, and we are their lifeline.
And then how you purchase these things and have them sent there, or you're sending money over there and they're purchased with them?
Yeah, this is the best way, because shipments, especially now, they could be easily disrupted, and they're quite costly. So what we do, we obviously have set up the wiring system where I wire funds. We obviously operate on donations, 100% from anybody who wants to donate. And I wire money, and they purchase foodstuff, firewood, medicine. American dollar goes a long way in Ukraine.
Tell me how.
Well, it's really for just to give you some numbers, for $10, for example, $10 to $15, we can purchase foodstuffs, like something non-perishable that the family could survive for 2 weeks. Of course, this is something really basic. We're talking about pasta, grain, nothing fancy, but
Right.
still they could sustain a life for a week or so. So really, anything about $100 a month would help a family, say of 4 or 5, survive for a month.
And this is a Christian children's home I think you work with. It seems like I read on the website.
Yes. We also support a Christian children's home in the city of Mariupol, which is only 15 miles away from the front line.
Wow.
So we work really close by. One time when I went there to visit, I even heard the explosions, nearby. So it's really, people live with constant threat of war in the background.
Yeah. Well, I know it's been an awful ride for a long, long time there, and it's so good of you to be helping these poor beleaguered people. I will just send people to your website to learn more if they can help you, because I know you give them instructions on there on anything anybody can do to help.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, Terry, especially during this time when people are reaching out and asking what they can do. Compassion goes a long way when it's turned into action. And I want to encourage anyone who feels compassion for all these people that have been suffering for 8 years to go on mulberryinternational.org or any other organizations that they know that work in the war zone or close to the war zone in Ukraine, and just help financially so we can alleviate the suffering of all these poor people.
Natasha, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you for having me.
You bet. That is the executive director of Mulberry International. That's the website, mulberryinternational.org. Natasha Reimer. They're talking about people in a really challenged situation in eastern Ukraine, of course, which butts right up next to Russia, and I think you know all the rest of the issues that are popping up in the news. But the war in eastern Ukraine has actually been underway for 8 years when Russia first went in there. It's different components of it, but there's a lot of tragedy that goes along with it. mulberryinternational.org.